Welcome to another BuddeComm interview, Henry, and this time I understand it's about the Ukraine, and there are lots of political and regulatory issues happening which also have its effect on competition. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, that's quite right, Paul. The Ukraine is in a very strong position at the moment. It is geographically linked to the former Soviet Union, but its mindset is very much shifting towards the EU. If you look at the map of Europe now, it is bordered on the east by recent EC accession countries. You have Poland, Slovakia, Romania and Hungary. The Ukraine has been bidding to join the EU since at least 1994. Admittedly, very little happened until the Orange Revolution of 2004. Since then, the EU and the Ukraine have been operating on an action plan. It is a policy framework to integrate politically and economically the infrastructure, and a number of key points for the infrastructure to facilitate the Ukraine's membership. And this is moving quite fast. Very recently, Ukrainians have been able to visit the EU without needing a visa, and next year a free trade agreement should be in place, and these are important stepping stones. As for telecoms, these developments are absolutely crucial. Historically, investors have been shy of putting their money into the Ukraine because the regulatory symbiosis just wasn't quite right for them. It was unsettled, and investors were put off. When the Ukraine does join the EU, whenever that may be, within a few years we hope, the country will need to step up the mark. The regulatory regime will need to be much more mature so that the country can compete with the competitive environment and the free market trend of the EU. Now, a lot of this can already be seen happening. Very recently, earlier this year, the regulatory treatment of access to cable ducts was entirely overhauled. Now the incumbent operator, Ukraine Telecom, or Ukretelecom, has had to open up its ducts, and it runs 90% of the infrastructure in the country, open up its ducts to all competing players. Now this is very novel in the country. Secondly, we can see a fundamental change in spectrum. The incumbent was the monopoly operator for 3G spectrum, and this was a political expedient. Giving the company monopoly was thought to increase its profitability come its privatization. Now that it has been sold, the spectrum will be opened up probably by the end of this year to other players. This is an important development. It is also important to see that the company which actually bought Ukraine Telecom is a Western player. It's an Austrian investment fund. And what we should be seeing within the next few years with these political and telecom regulatory developments is an influx of Western capital into this potentially burgeoning market.
Thank you very much, Henry.